Hi everybody, Richard Tromans here again at ALTV. Today we're having a bit of a discussion around contract negotiation, and joining us is Catherine Bamford from BAM Legal, who I'm sure you all know well. Hi Catherine.
Hi, Richard.
Legal tech has found its way into every corner of legal practice, certainly commercial legal practice. Contracting, contract negotiation remains an issue, remains an area full of challenges. To something that's very close to your heart. I just wondered, let's just start off with what are some of the key challenges around contracting and contract negotiation in general?
Yeah, sure. I think one of the main issues I see at the moment is everyone's talking about wanting to be digital, wanting to become that trusted advisor, wanting to understand more and give more information back to their clients. But because of the way we're currently working to negotiate contracts, i.e., Word documents, red lines, emails back and forth, we're not able to capture any of that information about what's happening. So it's timing, it's confusion around versions, it's not being able to extract anything, um, and many, many more. Like, the issue of accidentally leaving track changes and comments in. Like, I've received stuff from the other side before, and the first thing I used to always do was just turn on the comments to see if they actually knew what they were doing. And there's so many people that accidentally leave them on. And also picking up work from your colleagues when they're on, someone's gone off, someone's not around, and then you're halfway through a negotiation, you're like, hang on, what's gone in, what's gone out, before you can't, without going through all the versions of DMS, you can easily see, well, how has this already been negotiated from the start to now? So we go over old territory so many times.
So clearly that's an efficiency issue,
Hmm.
and if you're not able to bill for that inefficiency, you're just burning your own billing effectively.
Absolutely.
Um, from your experience, when you've worked with a lot of law firms over the years, I mean, just very, very rough guess, what proportion of the commercial legal market is still operating in Word doc, email, ping back, red line, ping back, ping pong, until
Yeah.
finally, with all those problems that you just highlighted. I mean, what
If we're
proportion?
talking law firms,
Mhm.
as opposed to maybe looking at in-house, that kind of thing, I would say 99.9%.
Really that bad?
Yes.
And on the corporate side, I mean, are they changing their methods?
Um, Not my area of expertise, I'll be honest. I don't work with that many in-house clients. I think more so I was speaking to, for example, Electra Yaponis of the Law Boutique recently,
Hmm.
and I was asking her, how do you work with your clients, and how do you, and she says, we meet them where we are. So a lot of time they're using Google Docs and Slack and other things. They're not using legal tech products. They're not doing email and everything else. They're working with their clients on documents using tools like Google Docs. So I think maybe with the in-house and with the corporates, there is more being done just because they need to be faster and they care less about the process or procedure, the DMS that law firms do about tracking every version and that kind of thing.
Is that a kind of economic thing in that because the law firms are generating money from their procedures and the in-house team aren't, the in-house team just want it done, and also these are contracts that are coming from within the business. They're sales contracts, for example. You
Mm.
it just has a different atmosphere, different.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think so. I think the main thing is actually just it's kind of like where we were with document automation 10, 15 years ago. I think it's just that no one's yet been brave enough within law firms to try it a different way. And um, lawyers are risk averse, which is great because the main thing they're doing for their clients is mitigating risk. But it means that if you say to a lawyer, do you want to work in a more collaborative, co-authoring, live environment to do your negotiations, they'll be like, no way, absolutely not. There's a big resistance there. So we have a lot of work to do in terms of, well, how do we meet them where they are? What are the baby steps? Really understanding the problem. So at the moment, it's an area that I'm really interested in. And at the moment, what I'm doing really is just the research of trying to gather what are all the arguments, why do lawyers not like doing it. And a lot of it is fear, it's it takes a lot with everything. It's like, too busy to change. But the Google Docs problem is that no one wants their work to be seen live. No one actually wants
Mm,
someone to see what they're doing as they're going.
mm.
No one likes to be seen to be wrong. So you might have a typo or whatever. Lawyers definitely always want to check their work. Often they want their supervisor to check their work before it gets sent to the other side. So that's why the Google Docs idea doesn't quite work.
That's interesting. It's interesting because I mean, a lot of people have said, Google Docs is the solution, or
Mm.
something Google Docs and then something else attached to it
Yeah, yeah,
will solve
yeah,
all the problems. But it's an interesting point, that isn't it? Is that lawyers want to sort of make their little product and then ping it across to the other side, and then they
yeah,
want to make their little product and ping it across. So you say you don't want to show the sausage factory, you
exactly.
just the sausages.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And also you quite often want to get stuff checked by your supervisor. If it's
Mm,
a corporate document, you might have there might be a lot of you internally working on the same documents. You might get the tax lawyers to advise on the tax warranties. You might get, you know, someone else a commercial lawyer to feed in on a certain point. Um, so you all do that work first, and then it goes to the other side. And
mm.
that could be maybe difficult if everyone's working in that way of, yeah,
So
of like a Google
what's
Doc
the
kind of thing.
solution then? Put you on the spot there. But I mean,
Yeah,
if the Microsoft Word, email, etc., is just slow and
yeah,
inefficient, to put it very simply, and Google Docs is going to run up against some kind of cultural barriers.
yeah. So it's, I think the next product's coming out, and something like a Juro, they're doing it in house, and I'm working with a new startup at the moment called Contract One. It's very much about taking taking all those things that concern the lawyers, um, and also really focusing on the benefits of doing this in a more digital way, and building in those features. So the one that I'm working with, Contract One, for example, it has internal and external. So there's more and more products, much more and more people starting to dabble in this area. So like again with document automation 15 years ago, we had 3 players.
Mm,
I think currently in this space we have 5, maybe 6. I don't think anyone's. I think the products are coming, and the products are there that take away that the issues that lawyers have with Google Docs and do it in a more safer way. I think the work that we need to do is actually like we did with document automation. It's now about how do we help everyone to embrace it, do some pilots, prove some successes, and change those hearts and minds, and
mm,
prove that it's successful and prove the return on investment. I think the products out there are there to be done. So it's now just it's finding the brave first few lawyers in those teams, in those law firms that are willing to trial it and willing to go for it. Um, because that's when, so document automation now is mainstream, but it wasn't. And it did take a few renegades to go and be like, right, we're really going to try and push this, that kind of thing.
yeah, no, definitely. But is the sort of version control and version communication? I mean, that's obviously just one part of the contracting process, isn't it? I mean, there's a whole bunch of tools and very early, starters were people like Law Geeks,
Yeah,
and then a couple of years later, then Thought River got into this, and others, and Cicero, and I think Seal is also doing contract negotiation as well, isn't it? There's a whole bunch of companies now doing this, and they're using NLP technology to. So basically, you drop your contract in, it's someone else's paper, obviously. You zap through it, compares your clauses to playbooks and whatever, and
yeah.
says, well, actually, I would use this, not that one, and
Hmm.
so forth. That's just one part of it, isn't it? There's
Yeah.
multiple parts to this.
The playbook stuff is something that I'm hugely, hugely interested in. And I think we really can go a lot further and do a lot with. But almost I think that that's not fully being embraced yet, and especially using things like NLP, when at the moment that's almost too many steps forward to the way the 99% are currently working.
Mm,
Um, so for one large corporate doing a very similar supplier agreement over and over and over where they have that playbook, that kind of thing's perfect. But within a law firm where they're acting to another law firm and going back and forth and the deal's slightly different every time, that's not, it's taking it too far because they're having to upload it somewhere else, then do this, then see the playbook, then train the NLP. Actually, I think the step in between is draft your document in an automated way, check it, bespoke it, and then it's in more of a collaborative co-authoring way, negotiate it, extract the data, get all the information as you're going with that, and then that creates almost your playbook as you go.
Well, let's on the last bit now, because we're coming to the end of our time. But let's just focus on that last bit, which is the extraction of the key data. And there's been a lot of
Mm,
companies trying to work on this area.
yeah,
For example, Knowable has effectively launched on the premise that they're going to extract data from those contracts and build these fantastic dashboards for people so they can see everything, see all their applications. And there's other companies as well doing this. I mean, that's almost like the third key leg, isn't it?
yeah,
Because I mean, contracts at the end of the day, they may be very wordy, but what the business actually wants is, I suppose, key data points.
yeah.
I mean,
What are our obligations going
yeah,
forward?
exactly. Where
Um,
do we stand? I mean, how? I mean, the the applications that are in the market now seem pretty good. I mean, is it just a question that we need people to use them?
yes, yes, and it's also I think we do have a thing at the moment where there are products that do each stage, and obviously we need more people to think about how you join those up. So we definitely need to do the whole back to basics a little bit in terms of looking at process mapping. It's not cool anymore. It was talked about a long time ago, and no one talks about it these days. It is the first step of everything you want to do to improve. So anyone that agrees that this is something that needs to be improved, you are going to be amongst the first to really be trying to embrace this within a law firm and to drive it forward. So it's not going to be an easy win. So you do need to be brave. You need to be resilient. You need to have thick skin. But the top tips I would say is start with one area. Don't try and do this firm wide. Start with one area of law, perhaps one client, and one specific transaction type that you do for that client. Start small, pilot, get the feedback, and then if you prove success and prove the wins, then take it to the next one and do that kind of slower rollout until you get momentum, shall we say, to scale it and go bigger.
Awesome. That's great advice. Thank you very much, Catherine. Real pleasure having you on the show. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Bye.